Hey, what's happening? It is Sunday and it's after 3 o'clock, so that means that it's Cannabis Legalization news time for the week. On this show, we're going to talk about how many cannabis plants, the DEA destroyed in 2022. We have some more big news out of Congress. We have a fed-up mother wellness dispensary that shuts down in Rhode Island. SEC Ponzi Scheme for 60 million bones. And then there's some smoking cannabis that doesn't carry the same risk of tobacco. We'll dive into that. And then stick around. We're also going to talk about Ohio lawmakers. More than 90% of California cannabis farms are infected with this pathogen. If you know, drop it in the comments. And how many unpaid cannabis taxes are there in Canada? Hundreds of millions. Don't worry, we're also going to play some Name That Strain. So let's get going on this week's episode of Cannabis Legalization News. Oh, Miggy, it is good to see you. And why don't you tell us, the viewers, about the music that we have for our new intros now?
AI generated, copyright free. Don't fuck with this YouTube or anybody else, please.
Hey, AI generated, copyright free, and we're using it because that allows us to be able to do it. I mean, if you guys want to give us some music or like a new bumper, that's cool. We're trying to find a new intern for the channel, somebody who can help us put the shows together and edit them. Because remember that bit we shot when we were in Albuquerque like over a week ago?
Yeah.
Still haven't edited it.
But again, we're just two dudes that were just trying to change policy, inform everybody. I even thought about this weekend or sometime in a couple days. Anyways, doing a paywall thing, but it's so important, the things that we talk about, that it has to be. It would, I think, would stymie we're trying to legalize it here every state, right? Though.
Right on.
It's gonna be faster for every state.
If they want to throw us some money, they can. They can become a member. They can join the channel. They can throw us a super chat. We'll talk to them during the show if they are. And then we can give away more merch, because we bought a lot of t-shirts in 2021 that we never gave away because COVID kept shutting down all the conferences. Anyway, let's talk about the main story of the week. DEA had a press release regarding destroying 5.7 million cannabis plants in 2022. However, it was still met with a decline in arrests. So that's kind of some good news and some fascinating news. 5.7 million plants.
It's a mixed emotion, right? I mean, less arrests, and again, it just shows the fruitlessness of the law, right? Mm-hmm. You're destroying all these plants. You're not putting people in jail. Is it because you're not really helping society? You're not doing anything. We can put murders away. We can all agree, put the rapists and pedophiles, but a grower is not a bad person. They're just a citizen,
right.
That was kind of my my advocacy. Seeing what we just saw in Albuquerque CannaCon was amazing, dude.
It was great.
I've been trying for years to try and reach to the non-consumer, right? Society's mainstream, whatever you want to consider it, dude. Mm-hmm. But I think we're there. I think society, this is the laws that need to catch up with the individual, right? We've proven that every the issue is not partisan, right? It's a human issue.
The solution became partisan, which really sucks. And so it's hey, when do you think they're going to legalize cannabis? What state? Well, federally. 10 years, and it's because one senator's we need to do this, and another senator says we need to do it this other way, but they still agree on the same thing they need to do. So that's one of the reasons why it's well, can we just decriminalize it yet? Can we just stop arresting the people, let them all out of prison, while one side of Congress and the other side of Congress figures out how they actually want to legalize it? Why are we still arresting people as another state and another state and another state legalizes it? They put out regulations. They start an actual legitimate business. The federal government does nothing to stop it. The federal government does nothing to stop it, even though their main job, Congress's, is to regulate commerce amongst the states. It's the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution.
Sure.
Frickin' stuff that they teach you even before law school.
Well, and that was one of the things when legalization first happened that they were, kind of using against people joining into the new markets, right? We can't do too many crazy things advertise because, the feds might step in. But we're past that point now. 10 years later, we're past that point of, it's almost like when we talked to Vivian McPeak, he talked about parity, right? cannabis is just another thing that Americans do. It's just another thing humans do, society, whatever shitty term you want to use for us. You know?
Meat bags. I like to call us meat bags, and we also stink. Gas bags or gas passers as well. But anyway, this was a statistical report for the Domestic Cannabis Eradication / Suppression Program. That is the DCE/SP. That put out this report that said 5.7 million marijuana plants were euthanized by the DEA in an effort to eradicate and suppress the plant. What did the price of cannabis do? It went down. Great work, guys.
It's the market, right? The market's going to, every state, that's why what we saw in New Mexico, dude, I think New Mexico is going to be the new American Amsterdam, right? The potential for one, the growers to get involved, the local citizens, right? Like these are just New Mexicans that are creating this generation wealth for their families and businesses. And, you know, I can't do that here in Washington. I got to have a $500,000 deep pockets, and I don't even qualify for the social equity program here. So it's crazy, dude.
It's too bad, because you'd be able to open up a micro license, a shop in New Mexico. And so, like, I'm not sure if you guys that are tuning into the podcast also check out Rob over at CLTV, Cannabis Lifestyle TV, that YouTube channel. It's awesome. He's been on the podcast. We should have him on the podcast again, because now he's gone from being like his own grower to they have a farm in, but I want to say that they just got that farm within the last year. But then you can in Michigan. And so if you have a following like he does, why wouldn't you go get a farm? Because you can get a 100-plant license. And in New Mexico, that 100-plant license was doubled to 200 plants. They call it a micro license. And you could stack. So like you could be a vertically integrated 100-plant operation out there. Blows my effing mind, dude. I mean, I don't understand like what New York's doing, where they have it extremely regulated, and they're like, you have to pick a side. You can either be on production or on retail, but you can't do both. And I'm like, what? You know? And then I love the states like New Mexico, and they do actually have this type of license in many of the states. They don't have it in mine. They don't have it in your state, not Illinois or Washington. But where you have a micro license that you can also then retail it to the customers.
Oh, right. Well, and I'm glad you brought up Rob, because, you know, that was kind of my inspiration. I was thinking about doing like a paywall thing, but they're like a grower, right? They've had that grow. Right. They've been doing that thing. You know, a lot of the grow channels are really, boom, they're up there, or even like our friend
Everybody
Luke.
Loves the grow channels. And then Luke is just fantastic with the documentaries he does. He does documentaries about famous people in the industry. People love famous people.
Right. I'm just saying more of our steez is the politics and the culture, which is you know, you
the
can't
business licensing and the business licensing,
the business period, right? You can't do all knowledge, and I think what we saw at the New Mexico CannaCon with Remax was on the floor, Brinks
Security,
Brinks Security, but also Brinks
Owings Corning. Owings Corning has their own brand of rockwool cubes to be a competitor against Grodan rockwool. Did you know that? You know, it's just so ridiculous.
Well, and then we learned about the new brand that's taken over to Bovitas, right? The new Bovita, the new science behind the humidity. I forget the name of that company.
The name of the company is Integra, and these are the boosts. And so this is the one that has the myrcene. I don't know if I'm going to be flavoring that. My weed already has flavor, but, you know, if you have some crappy weed, why not?
Well, I give it some to my kids, and they're doing it with their lemanoids. So they have, so people out who know what we're talking about, they not only have humidity packs, but they have humidity packs with terpenes already inside them. So now you can infuse your shitty weed, dry weed, whatever case it may be, with different terpenes. It's pretty dope. I think it's going to be like a, you know, consumer awareness, right? Like now you can make your own terpene cocktail type things, and
so that aspect of it's really interesting. I did throw some of those into my because I keep all my weed in a humidor. I don't really smoke cigars like ever, and I don't particularly enjoy them either. But I do have a humidor because I thought years ago I should smoke cigars. It's something successful people do, and then give them away to other successful people. I just couldn't. And then, but weed, and so I do like that, and then I can give weed away to other successful people.
There you go.
Yeah.
We got some congressional committee blocks in the news.
Hey, let's talk about some federal cannabis legalization news, turning the cavalcade away from the DEA's futile mission to eradicate cannabis, where the price of weed went down last year and they killed almost 6 million plants.
So we got Congressional committee blocks GOP-led marijuana. I was surprised GOP-led part. Marijuana legalization and fentanyl contamination amendments from the floor and votes.
Right. And so key House committee blocked amendments to legalize marijuana and carry out a study into the prevalence of fentanyl-tainted cannabis from getting floor action and a vote in Congress. And they were both filed by Republicans who sought to attach to a broader bill to ramp up the criminalization of opioids. And it would also contain provisions to streamline and research into Schedule I drugs. You know, maybe not completely legalizing it, but really starting to do some things that would help. But it was called the HALT Act. That's Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl. Interestingly enough, this is from Republican Matt Gaetz. However, that he kind of like glommed onto that bill, an amendment to federally deschedule marijuana, and that probably threw it off. So now we aren't going to have anything nice. We aren't going to just learn how to research and revise Schedule I drugs, and also how much fentanyl is actually out there, because Matt Gaetz tried to legalize weed while they were doing that. But, you know, still, it's so ridiculous.
Well, I mean, we had both the safe banking and MORAC go through. So, I mean, how many times are we going to almost legalize it? I still think, you know, it's going to happen by the states first before it happens anywhere else. It's
already happened 23 times. There's only 50 states. We still have 27 of them that haven't come around yet, but you know, they are taking steps. Like, they don't just jump into legalization. You first have to have like medical for a few years, and then you're more likely to go and legalize. And so this year, Ohio, you know, they may ballot initiative.
True, but like safe access doesn't just mean like safe banking. It also means like safe product and a safe place for people to go make their purchases, right? Not in shady back alleys. So, you know, these guys keep hitting and missing, and I really hope federally we get this shit together, so it'd be nice, right?
Yeah, but we're not going to get this stuff together. Here's another amendment that was glommed onto it. Republican Maliotics, a Republican out of New York, she wanted to prohibit federal funds from going to public or private entities that operate safe drug consumption facilities. So those facilities that you might set up in a heroin-scourged part of town to ensure that the person who is going to use, because they're addicted to it, uses it safely. We needed to fund those, you know, because don't help people, you know?
I mean, and again, we've been treating addiction and everything with incarceration and not rehabilitation. So, you know, fundamentally, how the government's been treating our drug issue, right? We complain about drugs coming from Mexico, but there wouldn't be drugs coming from Mexico if there wasn't Americans using it. Period.
Yeah, the demand coming from America. I mean, we blame the drugs coming from Mexico and China as well. They also say, oh, the fentanyl's coming from China. But then it's like, yeah, but all the demand is coming from you guys. Like, the Americans want to buy it, and then why does the fentanyl demand there? Well, because you guys really prescribed a lot of opioids the last 20 years, like a lot of opioids. Seriously? And then you just arrested people for weed when you could have been giving them weed first, seeing if that helped with their pain, and then going to the next step, which would be the opioids.
Like, why
that is so stupid. It's just so stupid that we do that.
Yeah, why is it that we don't want to encourage like plant-based holistic options first before we go straight to the pills? You know?
Well, because these plant-based holistic options have like no patentability, and so I'm never going to have to make a Keytruda for plant-based holistic medicines. They've existed the whole time. People can just get them. That's the thing. There's just no profit margin, or not near as much of a profit margin in them.
Yes. Speaking of profits, we got some people on Rhode Island trying to get around the law.
Hey, yes, let's talk about the Rhode Island story. The Rhode Island story is one of those things that happens quite often in the industry. It has to do with commercial speech rights, and so advertising and marketing restrictions that the cannabis companies have to face, and other companies, they kind of do. Like, there's rules for where and when you can advertise alcohol. They're usually fairly reasonable, but the cannabis ones become kind of unreasonable, and this is an example of it. So can we I might have to share that. I mean, like it's not zoomed in well, and if we try to zoom in, you might hang up the feed. Yeah, like it just says fed up Mother Earth's wellness pot in Rhode Island. Do a couple more of those.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? These guys are putting up a banner. All these advertisement restrictions on any cannabis. And again, what other industry has all the restrictions and bans and the censorship that happens?
Yeah, the same thing did eventually start happening. But remember, 50, 60 years ago, during the Flintstones, the children's cartoon, Fred and Barney would be smoking Chesterfields. And the Spuds McKenzie, that really looks like you're advertising beer to teenagers. And then Joe Cool, was it Joe Cool? No, Joe Camel. Joe Cool was with the Peanuts. Joe Camel was with the Camel cigarettes. And so now you have a cartoon Camel advertising cigarettes. A lot of those changed as well, but it's like the health, safety, and welfare kind of restrictions on your commercial speech. This is ridiculous. Like, what's the commercial speech that they're saying that they aren't allowed to do? There's a weed ban ad here. For some harebrained reason, the state allowed cannabis sales, but doesn't allow any advertisement. That's interesting. He's a Pawtucket businessman, and I thought this. Okay, Pawtucket is in Rhode Island, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, you thought it was somewhere else?
Not really.
Oh.
But Massachusetts, maybe.
These bans, though, these advertising bans are ridiculous, though. It doesn't. Why? Why is it there's so much limitation on letting the people know that you have a product to sell? Right?
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. So there is an advertisement, a billboard for a Massachusetts dispensary, because that's legal. And then the Rhode Island dispensary in Pawtucket, it's like, hey, bro, what's going on here? You're allowed to advertise. Yeah, I'm not a Rhode Island dispensary. I'm a Massachusetts dispensary. But then you can't compete with that other person, which is just hilarious. And so that's completely arbitrary, should violate the First Amendment, at least the commercial speech protections. The reasonableness is just not there for them.
You know what I don't think that these regulators foresee or understand too? It's like in New Mexico. I'm going to talk about New Mexico. I had such a good time there. So much I learned too. Like the whole fact that Texas, who was going through some things, all the border cities, the people that we met were killing it. That one gentleman that we met, Rodeo Verde, I think his name was, or his store, but he's on a third store in border towns. Like he's doing okay. Just stores. That's all he's doing.
Yeah, we are helping people over at CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. It was great. Like, I had several clients that we've helped, and so we got to meet up with one and hang out, and we're going to have a video with him coming on the channel here soon, so don't forget to tune in for that one. We do a dispensary tour in New Mexico, and we talk about the differences between that dispensary and one that might be like in your state, like, in my state or in Miggy's state. They're substantially more regulated, and they would have cost, like, Washington State's a little bit cheaper than Illinois, I'd say by a few $100,000.
Sure.
Like, to just take a tour of an Illinois dispensary is like trying to take a tour almost of like a casino or a bank. I mean, it is just ridiculously secure.
422 is 422.
Well, let's just go back and say, hey, it's 20-something past the hour where we guys are at. We're going to take a small interlude to hang out for a bit. Miggy, you gonna hit that bumper?
I thought you had it.
Nope. That was interesting. Was it on a loop for you?
I don't know. Hey, that was brought to you by Collateral Base. That's Tom's company.
Oh, yes. And not only is it my company, we are also hiring to a certain extent. Mostly we're just hiring for sales. And so that position, and then not just sales, YouTube and /podcast/marketing intern. So we're looking for a YouTube /podcast/marketing intern. That would be this podcast. So if you guys are interested in helping us out as an internship, hit us up over at Collateral Base. There's this little jobs thing. You can fill that out, and you might get hit with some pop-ups and some chat windows so that you can leave information.
Hey, you see my new grinder?
Show that new grinder.
Listen to this. Listen to this. So this bad boy, I saw one in Australia. There's a guy in Australia that makes them just like this, but this guy's a different American, obviously. But all magnets, how it's connected, so it just no threads, which is really cool, and it's got the bearing, so it's got the little like ASMR little feel to it, and to top it off. So my wife just made a butter this weekend, or gummies rather. So to make oil, so I bought an ounce of cannabis. And
do you buy when you get the cannabis to buy your edibles? And because like in Washington State, you can go buy an ounce, a sun-grown ounce for what, like $50?
So I don't know if it was sun-grown or whatnot, but with my discount, it was $42 for an ounce of like their popcorn weed.
Hey guys, if your stuff is $42 an ounce in your state, write the name of the state in the comments. I want to see what states are coming in with a $42 ounce. My state is not $42 eighth.
But I mean, again, it's not the best weed, so it was gonna be butter. And so what I did is I took this grinder and I took the half out, and I have a jar, and I fit perfectly over top of the jar. And I spent the night or the day just grinding into the jar. But I just really, so my old one has a magnet inside of it, and I do the old paperclip thing, for my bowls. And because this thing is connected by magnets, I was like, oh shit, I can still have a paperclip with it. So,
interesting.
Not cheap though.
It is connected by magnets. That's something else. Hey, you know what else something else is? The SEC is kind of regulating cannabis, which I welcome. And so this is an article from the Ganjapreneur. T.G. Brandfelt, shout out to him. He had me on his podcast once. We should return the favor and ask him to come on ours.
We had him on before.
Oh, good. Again. Let's just say, that's how many people we've had on this podcast. We've done like over 300 episodes. I don't remember all the guests, but that's all right. Yeah. Like, I remember all the good ones.
It's been fun doing this, meeting people in the industry and seeing the evolution of cannabis, how it went from where I would do backdoor deals to regulation, and seeing Brinks at the goddamn thing, and they're giving out. So I guess Brinks they're giving free ATMs. They're doing all the legwork. They're getting the money through the ATM fees, I guess. But if you're in the business and industry, that's the kind of thing you find out when you go to these trade shows. So speaking of going to that trade show, the following week, there's another trade show here locally. It was the MJ Interchange. So it's kind of like speed dating for growers and stores, like where like tech people meet and then they switch seats for a minute, trying to pitch sell like 5 minutes, whatever. So did that the following week, and it's right now. I think trade shows are not only essential, but they're gonna be around forever, dude. Oh
yeah. Well, where do you want to go next? Because I'm going to try to start ending the show like I'm Bill Maher, more like just, well, that's our show, everybody. I'm going to be here. And then that's in the future. We have another half hour of news stories. But I'm supposed to be somewhere on the 6th of June. And then they are all over the place. They really are. And so you can go to LeafWire and then just see where the shows or the trade shows are for your industry. And then if it's one of the states, it's like actionable. And so there's some states that are actionable, like Minnesota, Maryland will be coming. Missouri, it's opening on the 6th. Kind of have to go there, and New York, haven't been there yet, but it's just been not open,
Well, I mean, you're there for business, and it's neat to see that, like, you had actual clients that you helped get licensed in New Mexico. Not only that, dude, it was so cool to have people come up to us and say hi and say, hey, they've learned a lot from us. Like, that was cool to to help inspire and say, hey, this is how you get your foot in the door. It's not gonna be easy, but this is how you do things.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why. And guys, we're at least trying to win the popularity contest of it. Miggy and I have a 9% chance of winning a dispensary this year in Illinois. We might also, I think you also qualify, Miggy, as a micro in Missouri. So if we can find the real estate, I think we should punch that ticket as well and try to put you in, because we're doing a limited number. But it's, how they're doing it there? They got 8 congressional districts in Missouri, and so they're going to do, it's 48 in total, 2 craft grows, which they call wholesalers, small grows and processors, and 1 dispensary. So it's a 2-to-1 blend of grows to dispensaries. And then it's divided by the 8 congressional districts. So you take that 48 and you divide it by 8, and that's however many will be available. And then you have to look at the congressional map. And so we're going to hopefully do 15-ish, but it would just be 1 dispensary per 8, and then 2 wholesales or grows per the other 8.
So they're accepting out-of-state applications then? It's like, because, being me, not a resident of Minnesota,
Yep.
Okay. Shit, I'm on board for any game. Gambling. Any business is
gambling. Well, but this is legit gambling. Unlike this legit gambling, that was a Ponzi scheme the SEC shut down, a $60 million Ponzi scheme tied to a non-existent cannabis farm. So can you, as somebody who's going to be raising and helps clients raise money in the cannabis industry, how do you do it when you get headlines like this out of the Securities and Exchange Committee? Multi-year, $60 million cannabis industry Ponzi-like scheme by Weed Genetics and its owners. Where was this? The SEC, of course, is the Securities and Exchange Commission. So they aren't regulating really the cannabis industry, but they are enforcing fraud and Ponzi schemes, which is great. They just aren't, allowing you to list on their stock exchanges.
Oh, right. Well,
yeah.
You think, so this is interesting. And again, the vetting process is, I'm not a millionaire, nor am I asking for millions. So
No. You are. You're asking for millions. Your C Corp is asking for millions of dollars, Miggy. We have great financials and a wonderful management team.
Sure.
But an actual farm.
I just don't get how these people don't get the vetting process. I don't understand what you're vetting.
Due diligence. This is due diligence. And so when the investor is going to give, I don't know, $60 million, you do a laundry list. I do a laundry list. Your corporate lawyers are going to tell you, here's my checklist. It's a bazillion pages long. We're going to go through each one of these because you're buying or you're investing millions of dollars and you want to be... you want your asset that you're getting collateralized, and how am I getting my money back? That's what investors should be asking.
Sure. There's and then also if you have an actual business per se, an ideal dream, to have the what's your exit strategy, right? They ask how, they don't want you to be hands-on all the time in your own business, which blows my fucking mind. But I also get it too. They want their investment to be their own grow, right? They don't want to be overpowered by what's with the founders. Right? Is that what they call the person who creates the company or whatever? Yeah,
the founder is usually the guy who creates the company, and sometimes it's a founding team.
Yeah. So this is wild, though.
It's wild. They're promising 36% returns, and they're saying that they own and operate weed farms. They don't. They're just lying. It's just classic fraud.
Exactly. Do you think though the SEC is going to go after Glass House next?
Why would the SEC go after Glass House? What do they have? Is it a fraud like this? Because these guys are saying, pay us money, we will give you this much return because we have these assets. And they don't have the assets. And so if you're telling me Glass House is the owners of Glass House, that's not real. It's all AI generated, or it's a picture or something. They don't have the actual license. Yeah. That would be interesting because I think Glass House is already publicly traded. These guys, if you're publicly traded, you have to report to the SEC. You have to file, reports. And I don't know what the requirements for that in Canada are because they're all Canadian. They can't get listed here. But if they're listed on NASDAQ or the S&P, it would be... specific, and every quarter they have to release it. Every year they have to release their annual report. There's a prospectus that they would have that you're going to get as a shareholder. So I own some of those stocks, and you'll get letters of the annual meeting and how do you want to vote your shares, and so it's corporate. But when it's privately held,
that's what I'm saying. When it's publicly traded already, don't you have more, I guess, fiscal diligence, and so there's allegedly there's a lot of backdoor product leaving their business in California, and that which helps supports the business itself, right?
That's not really this though. This is the statement from the SEC said Rolf Hirschman and Patrick Williams allegedly had no real company, no product, and no business. Yet despite this, they promised investors everything and delivered nothing. So it's one of those, what Glasshouse would allegedly be doing then is diversion. And so the diversion is something that I don't even understand how we would get this off the annual statement. So like you can't report it. And so like how do you tell your investors, yeah, but don't worry, if that doesn't sell, the stuff we just lost on a truck will.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Tax free. So, I mean, like, and I thought, isn't it the purpose of these regulated bodies is to make sure everybody's playing the rules, they're doing the rules right? I don't know.
Well, there's not a lot of diversion. Maybe there is. I don't know. I don't own a liquor company, but if I did, I bet there's not a lot of diversion in it. Like, what are you gonna do? You're not going to be like, hey, don't pay the tax on that. Go sell it in Pennsylvania. It's silly. But there's diversion risk in cannabis because there's illegal areas.
Right. I mean, that's the cost, right? Like that's why it's going to cost more still in Kentucky than California or Oregon.
Yeah, because it's illegal, and so like there's demand in Idaho and there's no supply. So oops, lost the truck in Idaho. That's too bad.
It was all Delta 9, I swear.
Yes, it was all Delta 9. And hey, this one deserves a bumper because we have them. And also, this is something that's so stupid, it's like no crap. Well, and of course you knew that news. It's being reported that smoking cannabis doesn't carry the same risks as tobacco, according to a UCLA study. And this is being reported out of KTLA, which I'm assuming is west of the Mississippi as it begins with a K. The new study from the University of California, Los Angeles, found some good news for cannabis smokers. The major risk associated with smoking tobacco is not connected with marijuana.
And I don't think most people, they say it's the heat. Right, the heat from the lighter and the lungs is the danger. But even then, as an asthmatic, the fact that I'm smoking more in my life and I haven't died yet, I'm doing it for science, baby.
Doing it for science. I'm trying to study the long-term effects.
I
remember, like I've been smoking weed so long that I remember when that was the old chestnut that they would just get out of their pocket and be like, well, we've never studied the long-term effects. And now that like Raphael Michelin made it to in his 90s, and so did like Dr. Greenspoon before him, and Tommy Chong's still alive. Willie Nelson just hit 90. It's like, I think the long-term effects are a long life, dude. I don't know.
Being content, wellness, I don't know what
wellness appears to be one of the long-term side effects. Yes, but this was published in the journal Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Diseases this month, and it was titled The Impact of Smoking Marijuana on COPD Progression, a cohort of middle-aged and older persons. And they compared people who currently or have used marijuana as part of their longitudinal research, and the subjects were studied for more than 4 years. Pretty decent study, it sounds like. Neither former nor current marijuana smoking of any lifetime amount was associated with evidence of COPD progression or its development.
Somebody's asking what kind of discount I get. I get a veterans discount in some of these stores.
There you go. You get a veterans discount. And again, the study, once again, said neither former nor current marijuana smoking of any lifetime amount was associated with evidence of COPD. And then we have some quotes from NORML, I think. Cannabis advocates, including the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, NORML, celebrated the findings, noting that they are consistent with those prior studies concluding that cannabis inhalation, even long-term, is not possibly associated with COPD, lung cancer, or irreversible airway damage. Why is this stuff illegal again?
And again, Peter Tosh said, legalize it, now advertise it. He said it was good for asthma. As an asthmatic, I can...
He said that almost 50 years ago.
50
years ago.
And in here, the science is just catching up. Right? Kind of like...
Well, the science is not just catching up. The science is only now allowed to be performed. It was illegal to do science. How do you keep a lie alive for decades? You make it illegal to research. And they do the same kind of shit now with guns. Why do we have so much violence? I don't know. Let's go study it. No, you can't. Why? It's illegal for you to research it. I was like, wait, No wonder we're not going to have any legislation pass on this. And then Smith and Wesson go like, yeah, it's great. It's great.
I think sometimes the information is already out there, and then you get flooded with all the other bullshit information, and you just don't know what to believe sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that is correct, by the way. That is correct. You just don't even know.
We got some Ohio news.
Yeah, let's hit up the Ohio news, and then maybe play some Name That Strain, and then we've got a couple more stories.
Okay.
And, yeah. It's
hey, new member. Thanks for joining.
We got a new member. They got any questions? El Capitano. Let us know if you have questions. And, all right, Miggy, did you have that thing queued up?
For the,
next story.
Right here. There it is. Ohio lawmakers reintroduce recreational marijuana bill as ballot drive continues.
All right, and in Ohio, they are under a gun to get so many signatures to the official signature counter person by a specific date. I want to say July 7th? No. Is it that close?
See separate signatures, generating use lawmakers.
Lots of signatures that they have to get. HB, hundreds of thousands of signatures.
168.
168,000 signatures?
No, that's the HB 168 is the bill.
Right, because they didn't pass it. They were trying to pass this bill, but it did not receive a hearing. And so by July 5th, because their legislature said, no, we're not going to pass legal cannabis, we are fine with medical cannabis, it's time for Ohio to act before we fall too much further behind our neighbors. And they are going to see if they can get these Ohioans that are 21 and over on the ballot initiative. It's based on House Bill 168. And they need how many signatures? 168,000?
Collect 124,000 signatures.
By July 7th?
5th.
July 5th. Man,
and
it's going to be rough.
In 88 counties. Isn't this the same state, too? Didn't they collect enough signatures before, and then they denied some of their signatures? Wasn't that a thing for Ohio?
Yes, they will. The signature challenges are replete for ballot initiative states. There will be just signature challenges or just administrative challenges. And so like in Florida, the signature challenge wasn't a signature challenge from the Republicans. Instead, it was a direct legal assault by the Attorney General's office saying preemptively that the language in this ballot initiative that's supposed to be on the ballot in 2024 in Florida is bad. And so that would disqualify him too. I mean, they don't play. The Republicans do not play. And I say that because, well, when we go and find out who's doing it, 95% of the time it's the Republicans.
Yeah. There's like that few faction that kind of like reprieves the other one.
Oh, yeah. Matt Gaetz, Representative Mace, the real free market, personal freedoms. You know, if you smoke a joint, what's that got to do with me? Heck, man, I could sell you the joint, you know, like, and then you find out that it's not cigarettes, it's not alcohol, it's not opioids. Why the heck wouldn't you, you know?
Yeah. I like Dr. Lee's name for Name That Strain.
Oh, nice. Name that girl.
That's pretty dope.
Awesome. Well, that's a pretty good one. And then let me see if we have the Name That Strain in our stuff, and then we can hit that. Yes, we do. Let me just go ahead and scroll down. Do you want to hit that bumper while I pull up the info?
Yep.
I swear to God, there was a loop on that. Did anybody out there hear a loop?
No.
You didn't hear a loop. All right, I heard a loop.
Like the music?
Yeah, it's like purple. This one definitely has some purple genetics. She's beautiful, you know, very well trimmed and loved, obviously. So there's this, and then how about some info? Hybrid, of course. What isn't a hybrid these days? Its parents are Sherbert BX1 and Gelato 41. This is a very popular new exotic strain. Sherbert crossed with Gelato. And that is this one.
Very
and
big.
You could, yeah, you can. And so, like, when you know its parents are Sherbert and Gelato, then you're like, oh, there it is. Yeah, you can see that's why it's got those colors like that. Yep. It's called Earthy and Funky. Medical marijuana patients say they buy it when they're feeling mild symptoms of stress. And it's originally bred by Seed Junkie. We should get Seed Junkie on the podcast. Have them do the news with us.
And that was another great thing about CannaCon, dude. I bought beans. Like,
oh, yeah. Nigga's got a farm coming.
I do. Like the great, So like, and when I was young, back in my day,
No,
the scariest
no,
thing about like wanting to grow or do a thing was acquiring the seeds, right? Like, how do you
yeah,
trust the ones that are online? What stories to believe in? And seeing those actual physical places that were there representing their stores and their farms or whatnot. And
right.
so I think I bought beans from 3 different places, and I was given some free beans. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some beans in an envelope with a return address and put a sticker on it, and then do a
Hmm.
giveaway. Because like I flaked on giveaways before because like it costs money to pack T-shirts and shit, but I can afford a stamp, and so I'm gonna
Yes, you
do that.
can.
Put it in there, and we'll do something later.
And Jordan calls it out
Yes.
jealousy, and that's what it is. This is a hybrid weed strain made by crossing Sherbet BX1 with Gelato 41. Balancing effects, reviewers on Leafly say that it makes them feel mentally relaxed but physically energetic. Jealousy can test into the high 20% of THC, dominant terpene caryophyllene, and sometimes associated with a fuel aroma, so this would be gassy. Also limonene and myrcene, and linalool and humulene, which makes a complex flavor profile of earthy and funk.
Love my gassy. I got some
Jealousy,
gassy right here.
name of that strain. All right, let's go on to the news of the day of the week. The
Oh,
next one, where do we let off? Is this? Oh yeah, the story out of the West Coast, right?
yes. This is coming
Yeah,
around for a
we've
while.
reported on this before, and if you guys have been in the industry, you guys know about all this, but it's still like doing it, and it's more than 90% of Cali pot forms are testing with severe pathogen, being the HLD, the hop latent viroid, and this was reported out of SF Gate, San Francisco Gate, on the 25th.
And I saw this in NPR when we talked about it before. So I mean, this
Yep.
is something that's spreading, and
Mhm.
that's scary. I couldn't imagine being a farmer right now, and then trying to figure out how to counter out
Yep.
this.
Yep. Hop latent viroid, or HLVD, shrivels pot plants and reduces how much weight they produce by up to 30%. It destroys the cannabinoids as well, pot's most common active compound that the plant produces, and it has a greatly reduced value on the plants that are stricken with this viroid. It makes me think that the DEA, if they found out about this 50 years ago, would have used it.
Oh yeah, 100%, just like paraquat in Mexico.
Right.
But
Like imagine that they don't swoop in and chop your plants and take them. They swoop in and infect them and then leave, and you're fucked.
yeah. And I imagine though this is what affects mostly outdoor grows, right? If you're in an indoor grow, you can control your environments. Is that the whole purpose of being an indoor grow?
I don't know. I'm not the expert that you would ask on that, but I do know
Yeah.
that sometimes the only way to get rid of stuff like this is tissue cultures. When it's that, and I don't even know if tissue, because like tissue culture can do some things that are like endemic into the plant to get it back to its original genetics. And this hemp latent viroid may be endemic, but again, that would be somebody who's a botanist or somebody who like has a plant doctorate should tell us about.
Yeah, microbiology, ecology. It looks like that's the department. But
Yep. But
I
hey,
mean, scary, dude.
but Purple City Genetics got a quote on it, and shout out to them. I've had some of their seeds before. They make great genetics. You can take microbiology to the public and put it in their hands. It's important for people to have this type of testing. Shout out to Miggy. He did mention microbiology. So they must have created a new test to quickly identify infected plants. That's Oakland's Purple City Labs. They've released a new HLVD test earlier this year, and then you can go on site and deliver results to a pot farmer in just a couple of hours. So at least then you know, and you can stop wasting money. You know, like that crop is crap, and so don't put any more money into it, and then start over.
$10 it says for a test. So I mean, that's an investment right there.
Well, that's also an example of a company in the cannabis industry doing a couple of things that are like ancillary to buttress their main business. Because like Purple City Genetics, they make seeds. Maybe they have a license for farming cannabis. I mean, why wouldn't you if you already had like a brand for like selling your seeds, right?
Yeah.
And then they also then come out with this test, which is now like a new like ancillary product that they can sell.
Yeah, no, totally. It was so cool to meet people, like not only that create ancillary products, but people who are part of also the policy process. 710 Spirits. I was talking to CEO there, and she was telling me how she's involved with trying to get more regulation done through the FDA. Like she doesn't have to. Farmers and growers, this affects them. They should be the ones championing proper testing and all the other stuff. But I think a lot of people are just too busy surviving, sometimes.
Definitely, especially as the market price has gone down in certain areas, and then the cost of compliance is through the roof, and then you also have to worry about your taxes. But they say that this was first documented in cannabis in a pair of scientific studies in 2019, and then a study confirming the virus presence in samples from a Santa Barbara pot farm estimated that at least 90% of cannabis grows in California, according to a 2021 estimate, may be infected with these pathogens.
Man, it's a scary time to be a farmer in California right now.
Well, yeah, but vertical integration or like understanding how you're going to sell your crop is extremely important in mature market states. You know what else is important?
What's up?
Not paying your taxes. And so one of the ways that you can, make some more money is to not pay your taxes. I do not recommend this. It is illegal. I always tell people you are legally obligated to pay all the taxes that you owe. No, really, you are. Like, do it. But almost $200 million in Canada is the unpaid tax liability there. Can you believe it? And then not only that, this is from MJ Biz. MJ BizCon in Vegas, ticket starts just for $99. Let's go buy our ticket. Maybe, like, we've had their founder on before, the MJ Biz founders. We can have them back on, see if we can get press passes. We did that last time. It worked. And then we can go to Vegas.
Fun. I'm down.
November 28th to December 1st.
Dude, it was so much fun.
Well, there you go. We can see the Las Vegas version of that. And then we also have another episode of 420 Somewhere coming up where we sat down with Green Rush Consulting's Zeti, and so, or Zeta Seti, and so their founder. It was a great conversation about the industry, and he just moved over to Vegas. So
it's fun
pretty
time.
happening place.
Looking at the taxes situation, dude. So in 2019 was the biggest one that was outstanding at 147 million. Then in 2020 and 2021, it slowly went down from 4 million to 16 million. Like people were paying taxes at one point. Like I don't understand how you get to this position of finance.
You got to pay your vendors. You got to pay your taxes. Which one do you pay? You pay your vendors, because then you can keep doing business, because your taxes, your penalties on that are like 6%. So it's one of the lowest interest loans you can get. I shit you not. This is some of the reasons why I've heard that cannabis companies get in this position, where they aren't paying their taxes, because then they'll settle with the tax collectors later and make some type of compromise, or they'll have to restructure for bankruptcy. They're Canadian. They can restructure for bankruptcy, but the government collects its taxes. It has ways of making you pay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny. My kid's just learning about taxes right now, and it's like, oh, wait till you learn that most of your payrolls are paid off by loans. It's like, the finance world's crazy. Like how they choose to like go in debt where it blows my mind. Like it's all about the risk, I guess. But
Well, even though we just did a Canadian one, this next one is very, very English. So English that the reporter's name is even something that I don't think it's real. And like the place where it is so English. I'm like, is that also a lie, or is that really a place? Right. So we should definitely do a little bumper before we get too far into this one here. We've got some international news. The Guardian is reporting that the Isle of Man continues to grow cannabis businesses to diversify economy. And that is by Jasper Jolly. That's literally his name. You can follow him at Twitter at JJP Jolly.
You do a very good British voice. Oh
no, I don't. I'm going to knock that off. But the Isle of Man for decades has been dominated by offshore financial services, but now its government is planning a new kind of push. Medical cannabis. The British Crown dependency Oh my gosh, that must be like what they call Guam or something, but like for Britain. They don't call it like a territory. They call it a British Crown dependency is hoping to license as many as 10 firms. We're going to the Isle of Man, everybody.
Dude, they're
by 2025, and grow and export medical cannabis products from the island as part of a strategy to spur development. I guess I found the stupid British accent again.
but they're planning on like doubling their GDP. That's crazy that you're expecting like this one product. Which, I mean, they could, potentially, with tourism and all the other shit.
Yeah, no way. Well, with tourism and all the other stuff, it depends on how loosely they regulate it, but then they're making promises to try to get this thing to be passed. That's what they're doing. They're making promises so that you actually, try to allow this legislation to go and become law. And I support that because, Tim Johnson is the Isle of Man's Minister for Enterprise. That is a thing, by the way. And he said the island's government was really looking to diversify our economy and that encouraging a medical cannabis industry was one aspect of a plan to nearly double the GDP in 10 years and create more than 5,000 jobs and give younger Manx opportunities on the island. Hey, what do you call the people of the Isle of Man, Miggy?
I imagine Manx.
Yes, the power of deduction that I have says Manx is what you call people on the Isle of Man.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it's like a Vixen / I got nothing.
Oh, no, this is the best international cannabis news story I've seen in some time. The Isle of Man needs to legalize it to spur development for the Manx.
For the Manx.
I hope you pass, and I'll see you there in 2025. We're going to the Isle of Man. We're going to get some clients. We're going to charge them loonies, whatever they call their money there. And then we'll figure out how we're supposed to pay international taxes.
No doubt. I'm all about it. Let's do it.
There we go. Yeah, we'll be broadcasting from the Isle of Man, the Manxes. But do we have any other? Okay, great. Do we have any other stories in the hopper?
No, that was it. That was the last one.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because then I can be like, well, that's our show, everybody. You can find me this weekend. I'm going to go to my law school reunion. That's not a public thing. But then the next week, on June 6th, I intend to go to Kansas City. And on June 7th, you can join us at our webinar for the Missouri microbusiness license. Hopefully, we sell out pretty quickly, and we're only going to help 2 grows and 1 dispensary per 8 of the congressional districts, but it's the opportunity that's presenting itself next, and then the next opportunity we'll finally see if we win a license, Miggy. We will. The state of Illinois is going to give us some more updates. They gave us some updates this week.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
No, it was great. And then hopefully, and again, listen to Tom. He used to be a banker. Like he knows the business side of things, and it was great seeing you in the element of like hanging out with like
other businessmen. Yeah,
it was cool. So
well, because that's what it's about. I mean, like this, it's the cannabis industry, not the cannabis charity. Good night, everybody.
Yes, give us those likes and subscribes and
likes and subscribes.